Hi, if you are new here, my name is Yuki Boobuki, princess of all things spooky and ooky, but the only thing scary about me is that I haven't made a video in a very long time. Hi, I am a new fan to Warhammer. I've been reacting to the videos, and I got really sick. So, last you guys saw me, I believe we did the Eldar, in the part 1 factions re-explained, and I did like a rant. I don't remember anything at all, and I feel really bad. So today I'm going to do kind of like a recap video and maybe like a test to see what happens if we do like a longer video, and we're going to watch from the beginning to the Eldar, right? Or okay, I think that's where we left off. But yeah, so we're watching Bricky's Factions Re-Explained Part 1. We're going to do kind of like a recap. Alright, let's get right into the video. Like I said, we're watching every single Warhammer 40k faction Re-Explained Part 1 by Bricky up to the Eldars with no ranting.
In the kind brightness of the far past, there was no war. Our galaxy was, for a long time, fairly empty and quiet. The first known species to appear during this time are known only as the Old Ones, cosmic entities that traveled across the galaxy with ease and seeded life through the stars. Shortly thereafter, a new species began to arise. The Necron tier. Evolving under the harshness of a devastatingly powerful star, the short-lived and irradiated Necron tier try to find the secret to eternal life and to be freed from their terrible...
I'm trying to remember, because I did ask Fox husband about this, because I remember when I watched this the first time, I said I was going to ask why he didn't like the Necrons if the weakness of his flesh disgusts him. And are the Necrons a hive mind? Like they can't think on their own? Are they a collective? Like, because it kind of sounds like some of them had like their own personality-ish. Like I know they're like soulless, right? Are they a collective? Shared think unit
existence. As they expand through the stars, they find the Old Ones and they plead to them to share the secrets of the universe and grant them purchase from their short and painful existence. The Old Ones respond with a lol and a lamau, and with their immense power, they force them back to their homeworld. The Necron tier, filled with rage and hatred, make it their duty to get revenge on the Old Ones. A revenge that would come swiftly as a chance encounter with other gods gave them a solution. These other gods were known as the C'tan, a race of highly powerful star-consuming entities. Do not fear.
What do you think stars taste like? They was eating them. So are they delicious? Is it tasty? Like, that's a pretty blue planet. Is it blueberry flavored? Is it raspberry? Blue raspberry? Or blue raspberry is real? Thoughts from ADHD brain.
Young mortals, for we, the C'tan, will provide you with the immortality you seek. Come now, won't you shake a poor sinner's hand?
Do it.
Quoted from Mephetron, the Deceiver. The Necron tier accepted the C'tan's offer of immortality, but believe it or not, this turned out to be a ruse. A trick. The C'tan crafted gigantic furnaces and began the process of biotransference. The Necron tier willingly walked line by line into the furnace engines made by gods who devour stars and had their souls consumed instead. The short-lived, irradiated, and cancer-inflicted race of the Necron tier ceased to be, and the immortal, soulless Necron.
I do have a question. It's a weird question. Why are their skulls long? That's not normal, right? Long? They got stretched a little bit.
Necrons remained. Now backed by the immense power of the C'tan, the Necrons rally against the Old Ones, and the bitter conflict in the stars at this time is known as the War in Heaven. Despite creating various races and entities to aid them in this battle, Egyptian the Old Ones are overwhelmed and eradicated down to the last, due to the sheer power of the C'tan fat off the souls of the Necron tier, and with an army of unthinkable robotic slaves at their behest. However, the C'tan are greedy, spiteful gods, and when there was no foe worth killing, they turn on each other. The Necrons then put their sights towards the C'tan and lay waste to them, securing their freedom. The once subservient Necrons now control their former masters. Worn out and weakened by these wars, the Necrons, under their leader Xeric the Silent King, lie dormant with a plan.
Probably said this last time. How he rules stuff if he's silent. Like, what does Silent King mean as like a title, right? Like, does that mean like you don't have to say anything, you just like implode? Or like, are you just so strong that you like wiggle your eyebrow or something and then people are like, oh, he said you're being beheaded, executed. Like, how do you get title Silent King? Does he actually never say anything? Or you're like, he like really good at pointing?
To eventually wake and reclaim control over the galaxy. Over millions of years, empires rise and they fall. The species created by the Old Ones have footholds over the galaxy, but on a pale blue dot, in the thick of all this conflict, humanity begins to evolve. And for the most part, the basic path of humanity's evolution remains the same as it is now for almost 15,000 years. Right now, in the 21st century, this is canon. You, right now, Twitch streamer reacting to this video, you existed at a point in the Warhammer universe. But with time,
Fox girls are canon to Warhammer,
and the power of their technology becomes unmatched, and the golden age of expansion
Can I build a
begins.
Fox girl army?
Humanity starts to branch out through the stars with powerful tools used for agriculture, mining, and expansion. Some branches of humanity would eventually settle far away from Earth itself, and around this time, the psychic ability of humans are greatly expanded, and what we begin to know as psykers appear. But despite all the progress, things would begin to collapse. The machines created to aid humanity would turn on them in M23, an event known as the Cybernetic Revolt, and trade would begin to collapse due to the immaterial warp, aka actual hell, beginning to cause ruptures in space and time. These warp stones would separate humanity, and this would be what is known as the Age of Strife. The warp, a sea of souls, storing all thought, emotion, and the souls of those who have passed on, begin fluctuating into something terrible, as far on the horizon, something horrendous was brewing. You see, the warp isn't just a random assortment of chaotic energy. It is fairly well organized, thanks—
Is the warp actually purple? Because those are some really pretty colors for warp, scary, freaky time.
—to those living in the galaxy. The warp itself acts as an afterlife of sorts, and the actions of the innumerable amount of creatures who live in the galaxy have manifested a pantheon of organized entities known as the Forces of Chaos. At their helm are three major entities, Khorne, Nurgle, and Tzeentch. However, a fourth one, Slaanesh, was about to be born. The ancient Eldar were one of the first species created by the Old Ones, and due to their extreme and unbridled excess—
Off topic, on topic, I just realized this one has a ginormous butt. There are no other, like, butts on the screen. Why is that one humongous? Look, you see, you see my cursor. That butt is massive. Big space clown butt.
The birthing of Slaanesh tore a hole in the galaxy.
These all look like Kefka from Final Fantasy VI.
World, who sought to bring their species back together, and those of the Drukhari, who wished to continue what caused the birth of Slaanesh in the first place. The birthing of this fourth chaos god settled the warp storms of the Immaterium and ended the Age of Strife, but humanity was still fractured. So one man revealed himself and spearheaded an immense attempt to reunite all the fractured pieces of humanity. That man was the Emperor of Mankind. After reclaiming the nearly destroyed Earth, the Emperor embarked on the Unification Wars to unite humanity under the banner of the Imperium of Man. However, due to the very long and devastating impact of the Age of Strife, humanity as we know it is not the same. To reconquer Earth, the Emperor would need more than mere men. Great beings, known as the Thunder Warriors, were recruited by the Emperor to reclaim the Earth with ease. But these warriors are a blunt tool and had, overstayed their welcome. He would need something better, and that solution would be known as the Space Marines. Superhuman soldiers that will have the skill and cunning exponentially greater than the mortal man. These new warriors would be commanded by an elite group of his very own sons known as the Primarchs. Unfortunately, though, Daddy didn't charge the baby monitor, and his 18 sons would be stolen by the forces of chaos and scattered across the galaxy. This would begin the Great Crusade, a monumental task to take back the stars in the name of humanity and reclaim the lost
for the glory of
sons.
mankind.
However, he would need the fires of industry to make this happen. Looking to the distant cousins of Mars, the Emperor signed a treaty with the technologically irradiated hellscape of the Red Planet and allowed the cult of the machine god, the Mechanicum, to supply his crusade.
My husband's favorite.
While Space Marines were the tip of the spear, their numbers paled to the vast might of the Imperial Army and Navy. The Astra Militarum and their seemingly endless numbers make up the bulk of the fighting force for humanity, supplied by the intelligence and prowess of various agents of the Imperium, such as rogue traders and assassins. Due to the lack of
I think I've asked this before. I'm not sure if I got an answer or if I remember the answer. I don't know if that was a servitor, but that made me think of servitors. How does that, like, do they just pick, like, a dead body skull off the ground and, like, turn it into, like, a computer servant that floats around? Or is that, like, a punishment, like, you were a very bad baby, so, you know, we chop your head off and turned you into a robot skull servant? Feel free to answer in the comments below.
Activity between the worlds, what a society had become over thousands of years, became mysterious and varied. Tools once used for harvesting and agriculture now are being used as machines of war in the form of imperial
the mechas are so
knights.
cool.
Some of these fractures of humanity would even be changed further and become unrecognizable to the average human, with differences in size, skin color, appendages, cat ears, sometimes.
Cat ears.
Some would go so far to become their own galactic societies, like the miners of the Galactic Core and their immense supercomputers, forming the Leagues of Votan. After an incredible amount of effort and books, the lost sons of the Emperor would be reunited, and the Imperium of Man would be firmly established.
Yeah.
This, however, would not last. Be it intentional or accidental, the Emperor would not reveal to his sons the true nature of the galaxy and the terrors of the warp. And this oversight would result in one of the most impactful wars in humanity's history. The favorite
Maybe he wanted
son
to keep
of
his
the
baby
Emperor,
safe.
Horus, would fall to the powers of chaos and
The Horse
turn
Heresy.
on
I can't wait
his
to watch
father.
that one.
This
I'll pause because this will be long-winded. I can't wait to watch that one because I think that that will be, like, the most interesting, like, story to learn about. I mean, heresy. I really like how thick the lore is. I guess maybe the Emperor, Mankind, and Space Marines are, like, a favorite child. I do think their lore is the best. Like, orcs are fun, but, you know, orcs are very... Which, also, by the way, for my birthday, which has just passed, someone gifted me Space Marines 1 to play, which is not multiplayer, and you fight the orcs. I'm very excited for WAG. Thank you for supporting WAG. But I do like... And I hope there's a lot of good stories about the Battle Sisters, because I would love to read those as well. I did ask for some recommendations for books, but I didn't realize how expensive Warhammer stuff was. Maybe it's inflation due to popularity. I don't know, but that stuff is crazy. So I might try to find some things that I can throw up on the throne, and maybe we could do ASMR. I read you guys Warhammer. That'd be cute. But I am looking forward to watching the Horse Heresy video. I really like the, you know, betrayal and fighting for hope and peace, but, like, there's something dubious underneath. not the biggest fan so far. Like, I think Eldar is kind of cool, but I don't know how much Eldar is tied into the Drakari, and the Drakari kind of scare me, because they be a little too freaky up in that piece. I am remembering more as we watch. This is an intro, by the way. This is a intro. And yes, this time I will leave the ad in because last time some of you got very upset. I want you to know that I've watched a lot of this video trying to take notes and stuff or whatever repeatedly. I promise you, Bricky's getting ad review. Is it Gamer Subs? By the way, Gamer Subs came out with a new flavor. This is just funny email. And it's partnered with Bleach the anime, but the email is titled "Go Drink Bleach." So that cracked me up.
Trail, this backstabbing, this heresy, this Horus heresy would
Clapping.
result in a split in the Imperium with devastating consequences. Half of the Emperor's loyal sons would fall to chaos and become the Chaos Space Marines, along with the forces of the Dark Mechanicum and the Chaos Knights. The
Dark
conflict would
Mechanicum.
result
I need to
in
ask
the
somebody about
absolute
that. That sounds
obliteration
cool.
of Horus and the physical death of the Emperor himself. The near-dead body of the Emperor would be
I like
placed
the
on the
opposite of
Golden
Mechanicus.
Throne to serve
Dark
as a
Mechanicum.
beacon of humanity and allow for the continued
Horrifying
ability
picture.
to travel the stars, protected by his most loyal, the Adeptus Custodes. The Imperium would be vulnerable during this age of rebirth, and Terra would find itself under siege by one of the most formidable species in the galaxy, the Orcs. As time went on and memories of the Emperor's vision began to fade, the Emperor would become less of a head of state and more of a religious figure, and the Imperium would change to reflect this.
Which
The
is so
leadership
ironic.
on a planet would be at the behest of the High Lords of Terra, and their actions would be courtesy of the incomparable power and authority of the Inquisition. The zealots of the Imperium would intensify and create a brand new era known.
What's a zealot? Excuse my ignorance. I'm learning how to read for the first time. Yeah, what's a zealot? Also, I apologize. I will be drinking a lot of water during this video. It's like 120 something degrees outside, so guys, make sure you drink water. It's
As
hot.
the age of apostasy. And this ecclesiarchal command of the Imperium would end up with one of the strongest fighting forces of Terra, the Adeptus Sororitas. Over time, this age would come to pass, and we would approach the 40th millennium of Warhammer 40,000.
Yeah! Round of applause, Bricky.
Which, you
Good
guessed
job.
it, would come with its own form of problems. A primitive
Yeah.
species once found during a recon mission would be able to evolve in relative secrecy for 6,000 years, becoming a highly advanced coalition of aliens known as the Tau Empire. And if the threats of the galaxy weren't bad enough, there are threats from outside the galaxy. As a monster has begun to wrap its tendrils around the Milky Way, the Tyranids, monsters that
The
serve
scariest
as
things
psychic
I've ever
hive
heard
mind
of.
and present tactics previously unseen in the Milky Way. Be it a direct
Real.
assault with their monstrous bug-like presence, or through the more covert gene stealer cults, the presence of yet another threat in the
Not my
galaxy is
jeans.
proving to be overwhelming to the
Apple
Imperium.
bottom
In the
jeans,
41st
boots
millennium,
with the
there is
fur-
no peace
fur.
among the stars.
Apparently
At
they're
any
coming
point,
for
your
your
life
jeans.
can and will be threatened by the Xenos races uncountable, or by the arch enemy of chaos within, or by the decroded terror that is the Imperium itself. It is to live in the cruelest and most bloody regime imaginable. Forget the power of technology and science, or the safety of promise and understanding. For in the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war.
Where's my hope hammer? Thank you, Bricky, for all of your hard work. I'm glad to know that this video gets a ton of watches still, though.
A fantastic job once again, Mr. Kurz, the Night Haunter himself. Oh, didn't you love that, my faithful audience? Once again, we have another criminal over the course of 6 hours break every single bone in his body. And with that, once again, our glorious leader has brought the crime rate to 0%. Always brought to you here on 𝑓 News. I'm your host, Bricky. Thank you once again for joining us. Our top stories for tonight. The weather forecast appears to be rainy with extra dark, so make sure you pack those extra batteries for your lamp packs. And of course, let's not forget the fantastic gang violence problem we're currently having. Oh, I'm sorry, what's that? Oh right, it's gone. It's looking to be a chilly one tonight as well, so make sure your skin capes are nice and tight.
The heck is a skin cape?
Wait, hold on, one moment. No. Adamantium reserves have tripled? Wait, I'm sorry. Self-harm rates have gone down to 0%.
We care a lot.
The Night Haunter smiled?
I witnessed to say it's haunting.
No. This could only mean one thing. It is the 𝑓 News' great privilege to bring some color back in your life with the brand new 3-part Gamer Supps drop exclusively on this here news network. That's right, your esteemed host Bricky, myself, is dropping a 3-part Gamer Supps release for pre-order, available now and only for a couple of weeks. Not only does it include a completely brand new artwork reskin of the Sweet Six-Pack flavor.
That is a beautiful art.
Selling flavors in the entirety of Gamer Supps, but it also comes with the first ever all over print Gamer Supps 32-ounce jug. And if that isn't enough for you, if the phenomenal drink and drink holder is not enough for you, we have a desk mat to go along with it. That's right, the Herculean look of the brand new Sweet Six-Pack style is here. We're still looking at muscles beyond belief, but this time we're talking taste, we're talking Atlas, we're talking smooth. And if that wasn't enough, I, your co-host specifically, should you pre-order all 3 of these items, will personally hand sign a note for you, thanking you for supporting this network. All of this you can receive for 10% off if you go down in the description of this video and click the link.
His video will be linked down in the description, so you can go to it to watch.
Save 10% off with
leave a comment, leave a like, and use his code Bricky at checkout.
And increase production across the board.
I did pointing as if you could see me point down at the description.
Thank you, Gamer Supps, for sponsoring the 𝑓 News. And let us move on to our next scheduled program. 5 years ago, I made every Warhammer 40k faction explained. A passion project of mine for a universe that I enjoyed so much. Its main purpose was to be a drawbridge, the separation between the layman who had only ever seen the big armored blue man situated next to a Wetzel's Pretzels, and then the hardcore Warhammer lore nerd. That was just too wide, and there was nothing bridging these two together. Since 2020, Warhammer has exploded in popularity thanks to COVID, quality game updates, and a few excellent video games, and a couple mini-series. The sheer volume of people who have told me they have purchased miniatures due to that video alone makes me feel as if Games Workshop owes me commission. However, that video is incomplete. I was not a casual fan, but I was also not a hardcore lore junkie. In the 5 years since that video's release, multiple channels have sprouted up, and the drawbridge between casual to the obsessed has never been wider or easier to traverse. Even I, myself, have been a part of Adeptus Ridiculous, a podcast teaching lore in a much simpler and condensed form. Needless to say, I've learned a lot. Warhammer is so much more than just Spaceman shoots big gun. It has also grown substantially from its origins, being a Warhammer Fantasy spin-off just in space. Now, it is a black library filled with immensely deep characters, difficult themes, and even some tear-jerking stories. It is a backdrop for 1,000,000 stories over 1,000,000 worlds, and I did not
What
see
is
its
that, by
true
the way?
depth in 2020. But now,
Is that Rogue
I'd like to
Trader?
share what I've learned. We just had a brief summary of the world and each faction that takes place during it. And
Ooh.
we did that because to truly understand each faction, we must understand what makes them the way they are. And to do so, we need to begin in chronological order, discussing their origins, their culture, their powers, and of course, what makes them oh so grimdark. So let's begin with the group that started it all and sing praise to the infinite empire.
The Necrons!
As mentioned before, the Necron tier were the original form of the Necrons, an alien race far away from us that lived short, painful lives due to the irradiation of their star. Normally, this would manifest as like a sort of cancer, a space cancer of sorts. The Necrons are very much inspired by the ancient Egyptian aesthetic, but unlike the windswept dunes commonly associated with it, the irradiated hellscape the Necron tier endured was far from picturesque. This also translates into their hierarchy. They are a race of nobles and peasants. Most of the peasants would often live for their very short amount of time, only a couple of decades, while the nobles tended to have better care and would live a little bit longer, but still far less than the average lifespan of a human, even today in the 21st century. The leader of the Necrons was Zarek, the Silent King. He was the one who took the deal with the Catan and the Deceiver. Of course, he wasn't aware of the fact that they were known as the Deceiver at the time, but the whole species was blinded by hate after being debased by the Old Ones on their quest to cure their illness. The sheer pain that underwent the Necron race can't be understated, as their fear was manic. The Catan are, of course, gods that eat stars, and when the leader of your species tells you to march into the gigantic green furnaces to ascend to immortality, you march. The scenes from these are long lines of both the peasantry and nobles clutching their loved ones in a frantic act to save their own lives.
So he says that, okay, so they all marched into these flames. I mean, I'm sure he'll explain how you get the robo part, but like, are there babies? Like, or did not everybody come back as a robot, or like, do you have like a toddler mind in like a full grown adult size robot thing, or how did that kind of transition work? Or like, does only some people come back, like the strong only came back, and if your soul was too weak, your consciousness was like lost to the ether or something?
Many of them already inflicted in the late stages of this space cancer, some of them crawling into the biotransference furnaces, trying to outrace death itself, without realizing death was the one who made these to begin with. What came out the other side was a soulless husk. And I say that literally. A soul is not an abstract concept like it is in our world, an immaterial version of oneself discussed and debated in religion and philosophy. No, in Warhammer, a soul is a real, tangible item of oneself. And the Catan basically were just like to every single person who went in their furnaces. If you were a peasant, you came out a Necron warrior, and you as an individual have ceased to be. You have no mind, you have no soul, and your body, as you know it, is made of an extremely advanced mass of re-knitting living metal known as necrodermis. You cannot think for yourself, for you do not have a brain to think with. All you do now is await protocols from your overlords, which are the nobles who came out of the furnaces with their minds intact, not their souls, mind you, but their minds are very much intact. These nobles now have command protocols, and they are able to command all of their peasantry and do with them whatever they wish. 🎟, the Silent King, is the most advanced of all the Necrons, a perfect metallic version of himself with incredible power.
So I guess he kind of answered it here. So if you were weak, okay, like the peasants, like they said the nobles had better healthcare, they probably had better food, better advancements. The peasant people obviously are lacking. You just became mindless. So the bulk of Necrons can't think for themselves without superior leader man to guide them. And I guess they broke up into different groups or factions that way, or is like the Silent King ultimate superior man, and then he has like 10 captains or whatever, and then they can take little armies based on his command? Like, does his command overrule programming or whatever?
And intelligence. His strength allowed him to lead the undead and the unthinking armies of the Necrons to battle against the C'tan when they were at their weakest due to their incessant infighting, and then win back their freedom. But gods cannot die. So in reality, what occurred is the C'tan were shattered into thousands of pieces, and each shard of their god was trapped in a stasis vault and mind controlled to do the bidding of the Necrons they once enslaved. The biggest challenge they face now are actually the upstarts of the galaxy. The Eldar and the Orcs were quite prominent, and as you can imagine, a galactic war really takes its toll on the joints, or I guess the servos. It was in their best interest to wait out the galactic rise of the other races and come back at a more opportune time. So they went into stasis via these massive tomb complexes hidden beneath various worlds, biding their time until it was once again their opportunity to rule the galaxy. ���ᓟ, the Silent King, as penance for his failure to his people, exiled himself into the darkness between stars for the next 60 million years, with his perfect memory a constant reminder of the doom he inflicted upon his people. Flash forward to the modern day, and the Necrons are reawakening, but it isn't working as well as it could be. Whether the tomb world is reawakened naturally or by some imperial moron stepping on a green glowing rock, the Necrons have come back to reclaim a galaxy they consider rightly theirs. But 60 million years of hypersleep have taken their toll. Many Necron dynasties awake with systems unrestored and huge swaths of their population's minds completely lost. Necron nobles wake with various mental faculties compromised, sometimes exhibiting traits similar to excessive paranoia, schizophrenia, or even dementia. One notable Necron, 𝑓💻💻 believes that he is still back on his home planet fighting off separatists and interlopers. See, Oberyn, the separatists come, attempting to outflank me as they did at the 4th Battle of Vindach. How they calculate that daubing themselves green and roaring like savages will produce a different outcome, I cannot fathom. But it is of no account. Ready, my legions. Another glorious victory shall soon be ours. Other individuals, such as the esteemed Imhotep the Stormlord, seek to usurp the newly returned Silent King for rightful ruler over the Necron race, believing his time has come to an end, while scientists and archaeologists like Trazen the Infinite and Orokin the Diviner spend thousands of years bickering over artifacts and petty squabbles. Truly, the Necrons are a faction of unthinkable, unimaginable power, held back entirely by their own hubris and 60 million years of stasis. It is a species that does not know of time.
That is a big
only
net.
of the ravages brought by it. A pharaoh of a dynasty may just be as frightened to awake completely mad as they are to be assassinated while they sleep. Thousands of years pass in an instant. There is a play, like an opera play, a retelling of the war in heaven in the Necron culture that takes 40 years to witness, because why leave? You have no need to eat or vacate your bowels. You are immortal, but you are soulless. Despite the Necrons' incredible technology, their mastery over time, reality itself, despite all of this, they still are missing a soul. And therein lies the biggest struggle. Most Necrons look to conquest the galaxy, kill the interlopers like the humans, Eldar, and orcs that scrape at a fraction of their power. But the end goal for many, including Xeric himself, is to return the souls to their bodies, to undo the horrible fate he cast upon them. This is not the interest of all.
But if they
Many
got
simply
eaten,
wish
are
to
they even
rule
still
their
there?
dynasty with an iron fist and kill all they consider unworthy. But to many
It
others,
gets
it is to
digested.
undo the decision that doomed them all. Before they can do that, there is a pest that needs exterminating. That is the fundamental understanding of the Necrons. They are so hyper advanced that their science borders on magic. They play with the fundamental aspects of reality and time. Their mastery of the physical galaxy is the strongest in the universe. Their weapons reduce people to the barest molecules, and they have devices capable of causing stars to supernova. They are unfathomably difficult to kill, as if you do fell one of their number, the living metal reknits itself and the reanimation protocols allow it to come back alive once again. They're masters of teleportation, and often killing a Necron fully will just have its consciousness translocated back to their tomb world to await reassembly. Normally they utilize large phalanxes of warriors and honorary combats, but some of them have fallen to various mind viruses. The destroyer cults are hell-bent on killing anything and everyone that lives with an overwhelming force. And then there's the flayed ones, Necrons cursed with I have no
Texas
mouth and I
Chainsaw-
must scream, a
Texas
panic
Chainsaw
attack
Massacre.
virus, as the last laugh of Landogo, the Flayer Catan. Slowly losing their minds, they strip apart their foes and adorn their bodies with the skin of their enemies, trying to better return to their old feelings of flesh and blood. The Necrons are a degraded version of their mighty empire, and still one of the biggest threats in the galaxy. The only
I had a fun idea, but I don't know if I'll actually do this because I think it would start wars in the comment section, but it would be really funny to do like a Warhammer tier list of who is actually the strongest hammer of war, right? Like which faction do we think has the highest chance of like winning? And you guys can debate that in the comments below. You guys can put what you think, how you feel. I do see it to be really like how do you beat someone that can nuke you and just respawn infinitely? You know what I mean? What do you do about that? That is my question for you guys in the comments below. And if you promise not to fight too bad, maybe I will get with Gritty and Ryan and we can
thing
make a
keeping
tier
them at
list.
bay currently is their awakening sickness and their infighting with no care to the timeline. But they are coming. And slowly, they plan to rid this galaxy of the vermin that inhabit it. My people shackled the stars and broke mortality when the species you sprang from had barely left the slime pools it spawned in. Our wars burned reality, and the dominion of our kings is without limit. The ground you tread on is not yours. It is ours. The war in heaven was a
Don't fight me
catastrophic
for it.
time
I'm
for
just
the
kidding.
galaxy, and as stated in the above quote, burned reality. Of course, souls exist in Warhammer, and in the case of the Necrons here, they were consumed by the star gods. This begs the question, however, if you were to pass on, expire, as one might put it, where would your soul go? The answer to this is the warp. In Warhammer, a soul is real. And so is hell. The afterlife, the Empyrean, the Sea of Souls, the Immaterium. All of these names refer to the dimension parallel to our own known as the warp. Now, the warp is not like our reality. It does not follow the classic normalcy of time and space. It is defined as the Sea of Souls, and it acts like this in a more literal way than you can realize. To imagine the warp is to imagine the sea itself. Hell is real, and you can surf on it. It has a current and can become more dangerous depending on where you go and how bad the weather is. As the Immaterium is a reflection of our reality and of our souls, all thoughts, all emotions, all feeling that goes with a soul is passed on into the warp. If an entire planet decides it's going to engage in a blood-fueled rampage of murder and gore, then the warp around that planet will be affected in a similar manner. It's not something that you can see. It is a parallel, not perpendicular dimension. But it is changing. To expose oneself to the warp for any period of time invites certain death outside of the most iron-willed of individuals, and to stare into it will drive one mad. Much like the open seas, things dwell in the warp. Whether these beings were always there and were just emboldened by the carnage of the galaxy, we can only speculate at. At a time, you could say it was more calm. But a certain faction's galactic war in heaven didn't do it any favors. Now the warp is turbulent, and its realms belong to a pantheon of gods known simply as Chaos. Chaos! The forces of chaos are beings that serve directly under their patron deity. There are 4 current gods of chaos at the moment: Khorne, Tzeentch, Nurgle, and Slaanesh. Each of them represent various facets of and emotions of sentient species and play a great game against one another for total control over their realms. Interestingly enough, while their disciples have physical forms we can understand, the chaos gods do not have a physical visual that you can perceive in reality. So while there are tons of fantastic fan art, we do not know what they truly look like, though they are conveniently color-coded. Khorne is the god of blood and murder, carnage and slaughter. He is the one who is most powered by the wholesale killing of any living thing, for Khorne cares not from where the blood flows. With a sacred number of 8, he is the lord of all things involving killing and blood and gore. The champions are extremely strong as well, with monumental muscles and extremely large weapons. A true analog to Khorne would be his greater demon, the Bloodthirster, an enormous muscle-bound flying devil with an axe so large it splits tanks in a single swing. They move into battle with armor of brass adorned by the skulls of their foes and pools of freshly spilt blood. This may appear to be quite frightening, of course, demonic, one might say. But in the world of chaos, all emotions feed one of these gods in one way or another. If you were to define Khorne with single words, you would use blood, carnage, murder, skulls. But you'd be missing out on important ones like strength, honor, prowess, courage, and skill. Khorne is not just about the wholesale slaughter of people. He is about the honor and power of martial combat.
Mom says she is hungry. For you, no time will pass. For me, I'm running away. Alrighty, we got a little bit of this video left to watch. Probably about 10 minutes.
There is
so,
investing
power
someone
through champions.
in physical strength and skill. Of course, a murderer would be someone who would feed Khorne, but a soldier could feed Khorne. A martial artist or professional fighter could feed Khorne. A warrior, good or bad, feeds Khorne. A diplomat does not. A premier soldier does. A GoFundMe does not. This is what leads many mortals down the path of Khorne, for he will bless those that bring him enough skulls. And in a world this destructive, there are many ways to reap a high tally for him. Prepare the dread claws and unchain the mad ones. Glorious battle awaits us today, for the world below has refused to surrender. Let us descend upon them with fury and rage, giving no quarter and sparing only those warriors who fight well enough to earn a place amongst us. As to the rest, their lives and possessions are ours, but their skulls are for Khorne. Normally, if I ever...
It's Khorne, a big lump with knobs. So question. So I'm really new to Warhammer, but I'm like a big lore story person. I love RPGs and JRPGs. My first game was like Final Fantasy X. Okay, so I'm big into story. I'm big into lore. I'm also a huge fan of psychological horror. I like when horror games are like a little confusing and you have to like read into it a bit more to figure out what the heck is going on. How much crossover is that for like you guys? So a lot of you are gonna watch this video and you're gonna be like, I'm big into Warhammer, but like Are you a huge gamer? Or are you like, I'm into just the tabletop, but I like D&D as well? Or I like Vampire Masquerade? Or, oh yeah, I love Warhammer. I play the tabletop and I play the video games. And I'm also, I'm huge into RPGs and stuff too. Or, I only play Call of Duty. Or, like, tell me a little bit about yourselves in the comments. Kind of doing like Fox Girl community review. Like, what do you guys like? What do you like to watch? What do you do in your free time? Like, do you just pull up Fox Girl Reacts to Warhammer video and then you boot up your own playthrough of Fortnite? Are you a Roblox gamer? Are you crafting a mine right now? What are you doing? What do you like? Tell me about yourself. Brain thoughts with Fox Girl.
Want to explain, Corn? I just kind of show him this clip.
I'd never stab you in the back, Shepard. Warriors like you and me, straight to the face.
Moving on,
to the face.
is the second god, the god of trickery and mischief, the changer of ways, the great conspirator and the architect of fate. With a sacred number of 9, Tzeentch is truly the god of change in all of its forms, but there is an obvious undercurrent of mischief and cunning. Tzeentch is such a liar that his pants have gone thermonuclear. His favorite pastime is asking questions that have no answers while simultaneously making up answers on the spot to a question he didn't ask.
Have you ever had a dream that
My favorite meme.
that you had you could you want him to do you so much you could do anything?
He is such a conniving little bastard that every emotion of lying, of scheming, of trickery is a direct way to help feed him. An unfaithful partner, a politician, a spy. All these people feed Tzeentch in one way or another, and it doesn't matter if the intentions are good. Acceptance does not feed Tzeentch. Change does. Tzeentch doesn't care about your facts. He only wants opinions. Because he represents change, he also represents hope. Though.
I have opinions.
Schemes are not always bad, and even the hope to make a better tomorrow is the change he seeks. Because he is the architect of fate and the mastery of sorcery, his presence is purely unknowable. Every depiction of a Tzeentchian demon contains more eyes than are necessary and more mouths than I know what to do with. It is a biblically accurate angel if the angel gaslit you into thinking birds are government drones.
They are, though.
But are they? The creatures at his disposal adorn themselves with the knowledge of sorceries and the unknown, all to provide a mind-crushing experience. Fighting demons from outside of our reality is difficult enough, but fighting demons from unreality, purposely attempting to trick you, is a whole new thing entirely. And that is before we even get started on the gigantic bird of sorcery you're going to need to face. Do not ask which creature screams in the night. Do not question who waits for you in the shadow. It is my cry that wakes you in the night, and my body that crouches in the shadow. I am Tzeentch, and you are the puppet that dances to my tune. Third of the Chaos Gods is the one of acceptance of rot and pestilence, the grandfather himself, Papa Nurgle. Nurgle is the exact opposite of Tzeentch. Where Tzeentch believes in change and hope for a future, Nurgle believes in stagnation and the end of everything. At one point or another, we will all decay. We will all rot and we will all end. And with a sacred number of 7, every single thing, pestilence, boil, and everything in between, comes under the great shadow and girth of Nurgle himself. For Nurgle, the plight of mortals is his beer and wine. And no matter how solid life might be, everything will decay in the end. In the creation of life, there must be an end to that life. And nobody has more creations to end lives than Grandfather Nurgle himself. Every boil, every blemish, every pus-filled wound and disease, every rot and every plague is kept and concocted by Nurgle. This, humorously, keeps Nurgle as a jovial god. He is full of life and laughter, and by creating as many diseases as he possibly can, he shares that joy with mortals. I mean, his envoy is the Great Unclean One, and look at how happy he is. And there's a lot of him to love. A fear of death in general is feeding Nurgle. All disease makes him stronger, but to pray for salvation for a wounded loved one is to feed Nurgle. The timeless and inevitable fear that one day you will rot and decay is what gives him strength. The Peloton won't feed Nurgle. Licking the doorknob on a public bathroom certainly does. However, should you embrace your grandfather's gifts, you may find an end to your pain. Maybe. All mortal followers of the Chaos Gods found themselves there in one way or another, either through the direct worship or the slow corrupting of their souls. But those that take Nurgle's gifts and embrace the decay of their bodies may end up being chosen among his few as a faithful servant. In doing so, you will be free of the pain caused by Nurgle's ailments, and you may even find yourself just as jovial and happy as he is. Maybe. His enemies shall wither and die. His allies shall wither and die. The universe and all within it shall wither and die. Okay. And when the great corruption has settled over the land and permeated the very foundations of reality itself, then shall the Lord of all rise from the rot and ruin, spread his arms wide to reclaim all of his dutiful children. Those
The cycle of life and death continues. We will live, they will die. Nasus from League of Legends, probably not even real anymore.
Were the three major chaos gods for a very long time, emboldened by war and death on a galactic scale, ever present, but now fact on the suffering of a galaxy. One race, for a while, was able to elude the pull of chaos, an advanced race of psychically attuned aliens whose master over the physical world was so strong that chaos could not glean from them the morsels of power they once had. Or so they couldn't. Not for a long while. 60 million years ago, in an attempt to combat the Necrons in Catan, the Old Ones made a new species. One with innate power in the warp and the ability to harness it with a mastery that was unseen by so many others. A mastery so powerful, the Necrons retreated to sleep in order to wait it out. It was no longer a galaxy to be ruled by them, but instead begin the age of the
Eldar. And this is where it looks like we last left off.
Pointed-eared humanoids that are all psychically attuned to the warp. If we're being meta here, these are space elves, and these elves ruled the galaxy in the time the Necrons went to sleep and humanity.
How do you bring Elf on a Shelf into this?
The Eldar's empire was galaxy-wide and lasted for longer than any other galactic power that we know of. Their understanding of all things was exceptional. With every single one of them being psychers, they had the ability to master the warp and use it to their advantage. See, being a psyker is basically like being a wizard, or I guess in this case, it's more a sorcerer, since you are born with the gifts as opposed to learning them. In order to utilize your psychic...
There's a difference between wizards and sorcerers, and it's not just a synonym. Wizards are different than sorcerers? Question mark? Squint.
Abilities, however, you must then reach into the other dimension, into the warp, into hell for that power. So if you were to say, cast Fireball, your mind would reach into the warp, gather the strength to rewrite reality, to then cast Fireball. Now, you might think to yourself, doesn't that mean if you are opening up a power to the warp, you may create a lot of risk to yourself because of all the horrible things we just talked about in the warp?
Yeah.
Yes. However, in Warhammer 40k, willpower is a real, tangible thing in the sense that in its own right, it can be weaponized. Being strong of will means being strong of soul, and being strong of soul means you can resist the pull of the warp that much.
I've asked a lot of you guys this video, but it's also been like an hour. So, do you guys think that you have willpower strong enough to do cool things in the 40k universe? Yes or no? I think it depends on what day you catch me.
A more inexperienced psyker opens up a hole into the warp that is large, and that hole widens to get more power, allowing evil things to get in. A powerful psyker is able to open a very small hole, but with immense force, to get the same amount of power with less risk. The Eldar are master psychers. Every single one of them can call upon the warp, and over millions of years they have perfected it so much so that they can weave structures out of it. In some species in the galaxy, they utilize the warp itself for interstellar travel. The Eldar ain't having any of that noise. How about we utilize a fancy alternative mode of travel that is substantially safer than the old ones created, called the webway? What about dying? Miss me with that. We no longer age. And if we do, we can just be reborn like that. Food, water, materials, we make things out of distilled warp essence itself. We sing unreality into cathedrals to dine in. What truly could the Eldari Empire possibly fear? The Eldari Empire's biggest fear was themselves, with a society so perfect they wanted for naught, and this led them down dark and dangerous paths. When the base functions of society are no longer a problem for you, you tend to experiment. Perhaps the medium rare steak on your plate would be better if it was elf meat. Hey, I'm not saying we should make cannibalism legal, but like, what's the issue with a little taste? Violent sports is one thing, but how come we don't do sports to the death? I mean, I'm just saying, like, if both participants are willing and clear about it, like, what really is the problem there, you know? Art is in the eye of the viewer, and what is considered art is completely up to the concept of one's own interest. A canvas adorned with the blood of a man wronged is truly the visual poetry that our society needs.
Wait, I just noticed the thumbs up.
With a slow and consistent hedonism, the Eldar slid backwards into debauchery of the sort I cannot discuss on this YouTube video. Murder on stage, delicacies and drugs distilled from one another, the trade of slaves and concubines, and much worse. The Eldar physiology has their emotions heightened, and they can feel more than a human does. So while it can provide lows of pure despair, it can also provide greater highs than you have ever known. And swinging between the two of them was the Eldar game. The warp took notice of this heavily, and it began to react. On a galactic scale, the debauchery and the hedonism of the Eldar race caused levels of warp storm so pronounced and so volatile that it cut off interstellar travel for all those who used it. Communications between planets was removed, and a nightmarish era of old night began. This continued for thousands of years, hundreds of thousands of years.
Oh, I'm sorry, you guys can hear that. If you guys hear it clanking, so I have a low profile mic arm. It comes right in front of Smeeze. And then I have a shock mount. And on the shock mount I have clipped a little DIY bottle from Animal Crossing and a Cherry Blossom Pink Hatsune Miku chibi figure. And I was kind of playing with them, and then I realized that it was being picked up on the mic, and I'm sorry that you can hear me clanking around, but the ADHD is really bad. I can't help it. I'm very sorry.
Problems being caused as they entered heights of more and more ecstasy. They needed more and more and more. Nothing was ever enough. More murder, more torture.
More.
It's art, it's delicacies, it's life. This silence offends Slaanesh.
But wait. Okay. So that is where we're going to stop our video today. Now, this is kind of a test / I really did need to recap, plus I really need to make a Warhammer video. Wait, actually come here in the middle to me. Hello. I'm Yuki Boobuki's Princess of All Things Spooky. The only thing scary about me is that I didn't remember what was going on, but I do remember after watching it. I hope you guys like this video. Please feel free to leave the comments to all of my questions. Feel free to drop some lore, your favorite factions, your favorite color. Like I said, I want to get to know more about what you guys like more about what you guys like to see. There are some people who are like, I just like watching react content. That's cool. I was thinking about making some Elden Ring videos. I definitely want to make some Final Fantasy videos. And of course, we'll be watching Warhammer. And then when it comes to react to like funny stuff, my momager recommended me some like Australian videos to watch. You know, leave a comment down below. It'll help me out. I feel kind of eepy, really. So you make the decisions. You decide. Apologize for having been sick so long. Hopefully now we're on the up. I can't wait for winter. Oh my gosh, it's just too hot. But yeah, hopefully we're on the up, and I have a bunch of medicine stocked up for if I start to get a little icky again. Update, in case any of you made it this far. I will be starting the 20th, July 20th. I will be streaming Monday through Friday and then be off Saturday and Sunday. That's the new updated schedule, and that is here on YouTube. And I will be trying to finish Bolt Gun at some point. I'm gonna do kind of like a game wheel and make you guys pick stuff, because I hate decisions. But I'm looking at, what did I write? Monday will be Final Fantasy 14. Tuesday will be Final Fantasy 11. Wednesday is collab day. Thursday will be spin the wheel, and then Friday will be my Final Fantasy trophy challenge, where I try to 100% 1 through 16 mainline games, as many of them as I want to try. And then I'll be off Saturday and Sunday, and then I put a list in the Discord. And then Friday nights I will be doing membership stream. Boop boop boop. So be going over some fun stuff. I want to make, like I talked about the tier list in the middle of the video, I want to make slides about like how I think lore is going with Warhammer. I want to, you know, do some research, do some fun, maybe make a tier list about the games I've played that I've liked, so on and so forth, and that kind of thing. So I am cooking. Hopefully my health quits fighting me. Thumbs up. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching the video. Leave a like, leave a comment, hit that subscribe button if you liked it. And I will see you guys in another video and or stream, whatever that may be. God bless you all. Bookie, boo bye.